Ladies and gentlemen, the webinar will begin in just 5 minutes' time, so just 5 minutes to the start of the webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, the webinar will begin in just 4 minutes' time. So we have just 4 minutes to the start of the webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, the webinar will begin in just 3 minutes' time. So we have just 3 minutes to the start of the webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, the webinar will begin in just 2 minutes' time. So we are just 2 minutes away from the start of the webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, we are just 1 minute away from the start of the webinar. So 1 minute before we start. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the webinar. the do's and don'ts of utilizing AI in your partner marketing strategy. So welcome to everyone. We've got great panelists for you, but just a couple of things before we begin. Just a reminder, on the 28th to the 30th of April, we will have Partner TechX at the Lowe's Hotel in beautiful Coronado Bay in California. And this will bring together all of the people providing all of the technology, the services, the support you need to build a really stunning channel program. So all the technologies, all of the companies, all in one place at one time. And if you click on that QR code, we have a special offer running to Christmas. You can register for the event for just $795. So click on the QR code. I'll leave it up for another couple of seconds. And I look forward to seeing you all there in April. I have to say there are worse places to be in April. So we also want everyone to get involved. So feel free to click on the chat, comment, talk to one another, talk to the panelists, and let's make this a very, very interactive session. Really looking forward to working with everyone over the next 45 minutes, going through a very important topic. We'll start with the do's and we'll finish with some of the don'ts of utilizing AI in your partner marketing strategy. So I am now going to introduce our panelists, and I will start with Alexa Curl, and she is Director of Product and Solutions Design at Maritz. She's over a decade of experience in harnessing the power of data, strategy, technology, and smart marketing to develop and strengthen brands, products, and programs. She's a passion for understanding human motivation to identify and design tailored programs that drive partner engagement. And she collaborates with cross-functional teams to ensure the successful delivery and adoption of innovative software solutions, empowering partners to achieve their goals and maximize their potential. So Alex, welcome to the webinar.
Thank you.
Our second panelist is Stephen Kellum, and Stephen is the CRO of Structured Web. Stephen has over 20 years experience in the channel, and prior to joining Structured Web, he ran and sold a successful MSP and a channel incentives company. He's a triathlete, surfer, and general health nut. So, Stephen, welcome to the webinar.
Thanks, Ryan.
Excellent. Our third panelist is Harbinder Kira, and Harbinder is the CEO and founder of Mind Matrix. He's over 20 years experience in sales, marketing, and channel enablement software and solutions. He's provided over his career IT consulting services to Southwest Airlines, Nationwide Insurance, IBM, Siemens, Citibank, and Sprint PCS. He was one of 3 CEOs to win the CRM Influential Leader Awards last year, announced by the reputed Destination CRM magazine, for his contribution towards innovative sales and marketing technology. So Harbinder has an MS in Information Networking from Carnegie Mellon University and an MS in Computer Engineering from Florida Atlantic University. He's also a member of the Phi Kappa Phi Honor Society and a member of the Dean's Leadership Council at CMU. So Harbinder, welcome.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Excellent. And our fourth panelist is Raul Rodam, and he's the Director of Solutions Consulting at E2Open. Raul also has more than 10 years of channel product management experience. He's got an MBA in marketing. He's got cross-functional experience in startups and large organizations. He's also passionate about rock music, movies, soccer, and traveling. So Rahul, welcome to the webinar.
Thanks, Rod. Happy to be here.
Excellent. So I'm going to start with, we all talk about AI, but what sits behind AI is data. And Rahul, I've got you on camera in front of me at the moment. I'm looking at building a marketing program. I'm looking at using AI to do that. What are the critical things I need to be looking at from a data perspective?
Awesome. Thank you, Rod. I think, E2 Open, especially, we are very data focused as a company. Data is the foundation for any type of program when it comes to channel and partners. And we believe that, strong, really focusing on getting a good foundation of data is going to be crucial, right? So for us, when it comes to marketing, I think we first need to ensure that all the data that's coming in from this rich community and ecosystem of channel, all our partners, the customers, the sales transactions, all of that data is coming in, and we are leveraging various technologies within AI to do a bunch of things to help in collecting the data, cleansing the data, and then making sure it's ready for your marketing strategies. So the way I look at it is that similar to a conductor, an orchestra conductor, if he were to conduct with the blindfold on, I would look at it in a similar way, that you can't really do effective coordination and effective marketing without really understanding or seeing the data that's in front of you. So really having that layer of data is going to be crucial to a good marketing strategy, and that's where AI can really add value in enhancing and enriching the data more effectively.
Yeah, hey, Rod, I can jump in here for a second on top of Rahul's. I'm curious what Arvinder and Alec have to say about this as well, too. Look, we look at it as like who the partner, the 4 W's almost, who the partner is, where the partner is, what the partner is, and most importantly, I think Alec will talk about this, and Alex will talk about this, and maybe Harvey even more, and what they've done. We talk to vendors all the time. We're as good as the data that's coming back to us on what we can do and what we need to understand. But I think we're definitely in an area where the more we know about the partner, the more it's easy to use AI to match things up and make them successful, right? Whether it's in deal registration and tying in the right content at the right time in that sales journey. This is all about the data that you have that's in there. The question I always have for vendors is, can you get this data right? AI is not a magic wand that's going to solve the problem. You really do need to, I think you're right, Ro, start with that data. But if you have it and it's good, it's clean, it's pretty amazing.
And Alex, if I can bring you in here, I mean, a lot of the data is messy. Give some specific things that we can do to help clean it up. What are some of the things you've seen that have really worked to help produce something that's really usable? You're muted, Alex.
Our data science team, this is kind of their do's and don'ts, right? We're getting clients that are coming in all over the maturity scale of data, of trying to figure out, they have this big data set and they know they're supposed to use it, but they don't know that you can't just accept data necessarily as it comes, right? If it's not worthy, you're going to be building these AI tools that are not going to be as effective as they should be. And so one of our best practices is don't just accept data as it comes. You can't skip steps, that you have to make sure that we're cleaning that data, that we are cleansing it, that we understand it. We know that these clients are coming and these data, distributors and partners are coming at them all over. And so it's really our job to help them understand what that data needs to look like. And also there can be third-party data sources that we come in. All of this knowledge is understanding how to make it most valuable and then turning that into tools. And, really an example that we have on that is we created this intelligence tool for one of our more mature clients. And it took a few years. It took a few years of, they came in and they felt behind, but it's, don't just jump to solutioning, right? We need to take the time to understand what we're trying to do. And then from that, over time, we create these tools. And I think the tools for the marketing strategy is that data is the foundation, like Raul said, and we're helping these channel partners be able to pick and choose through segmentation, which I know we have a lot to talk on that as well, and create that messaging. But we know AI can't do it all, and so there's got to be some layers in place for that. But that's some things that would really help with those clients. Yeah,
it can help you get there. That's for sure. But there are even some simple things that you can do. with some basic segmentation. I know we talked about this a little bit the other day. It depends on, Rod, what you're trying to achieve, right? Are you starting with something that's purpose-built and you're just trying to help partners create, edit, localize, translate content? Or are you doing an AI analysis on what the partner has done so you can look at what sort of programs they should be in, how you should reward them, what you should do with them? You know, I think there's a different level of data that you need. I think you can start with things that are pretty simple, right? And you can go to the very, very complex.
Okay, and Harbinder, bringing you into this, I've got messy data. I'm trying to bring multiple sources together. How can I use AI to help clean that data?
Absolutely. You know, if you look at our channel ecosystem, we have two kinds of data sets. One is the unstructured data, and one is the structured data. Okay. Now, and from an unstructured data perspective, that is a data that sits in documents, brochures, you know, all the literature that is out there, websites, LinkedIn. There's a lot of unstructured data. Then you have structured data. And so structured data that sits in your databases, for example, all the revenue goals, the numbers and certs you have taken. So I agree with Rahul that this is all the game of data. You know, you have to leverage data. If you think about data sets, I categorize them in a broader, so if you think upon the use of this data, you know, you need data to create, you know, running AI to create a hyper-personalized partner experience. You need data to create marketing content. I'm coming back to partner marketing. You need data for analytics. More importantly, when we think about data, that how you measure ROI in partner marketing, and that's really where you have to really look at how the money is being spent and looking at the data that where E2Open is trying to track more from a transaction data perspective, bringing that data element in the full life cycle, then now you have a complete story. Okay. And then in our space, obviously, when you have, you know, a partner ecosystem, each of the partners bring their own data set. Brand has their own data set, and the individual sellers have their own data set. How do you marry the unstructured, the structured, and the silos of different data together to create effective marketing stuff? That is the key.
If I can,
And how do you do that, Harbinder?
So, you know, obviously you have to look at data governance and rules. So basically you have to look at data and say, organize the data sets, you know, say, hey, this is the partner data. And in partner data, and then in the partner, you have different types of, so when you're using LLM or AI, you have to really make sure you have to build the AI governance and security layer on top of the data. So first question is when somebody is asking for any question, you got to make sure they have access to the data set. So if a partner in EMEA doesn't have access to backup disaster recovery data set, they should not be able to see anything. LLM or AI should be able to return back something no data found. Because that brings, that creates trust that is indeed is giving the real data. Now, no hallucination around it. So then you have the boundaries around what the brand is offering. So you have to basically create this AI governance layer that controls the permissions to this data set.
Excellent.
Rod,
And Rahul, what you're trying to do is create insights. What sort of insights are we looking for? How are we going to use them?
Yeah. No, so I think Harbinder mentioned that, you know, we really at E2Open focus on acquiring a lot of transactional data. So we have this ecosystem of partners that are sending us point of sale data, their sales, their inventory positions through their life cycle, right? When you start to collect this data, and we're using AI to, again, cleanse and match this data up so that we can clearly identify what product is being sold to which customer, that is when we can unlock better strategies towards marketing. So if I know who my partners are already selling to, or where the opportunities are, where are their go-to-market strategies, which industry, which region, having that data, I can now put my marketing investments in the right space. So having that insight on where I can move the needle, now whether it's MDF, putting money into my partner ecosystem, whether it's certain campaigns, I'm able to focus those campaigns versus a more generic type of a marketing approach towards those specific opportunities that can lead to better ROI.
Alex, you're nodding on that one. What would you like to add there?
No, I mean, I think that's the key to it, right? You know, the idea of segmentation is this big word, but underneath it, it means so many things depending on what your client's goals are. And something that we work with them at too is, you know, we need to work at those goals, right? Poorly defined goals, you can go all over the place. And so once we understand what those clients, what they're doing, you know, and we can do those campaigns and do those other elements to them, it's also the entire experience, right? Everything from when they're coming to the portal, how am I talking to them specifically, from geographical considerations, from, you know, that relevant imagery. And if I'm in the Southwest versus the Northeast, what am I seeing? How are you talking to me? And those are things that we do with some of those tools. I mean, we have what's out there, about 5 generations of people. Now, granted, maybe 3 are decision makers, but gosh, within segmentation, there's just so many things that the data can help us understand. And with those AI tools that we can just have hyper personalized strategies.
And Stephen, coming in on that one,
Look, I think
what's the
data
process to get to the point where you can create a real personalized strategy for your partner community?
Look, I think this is where AI is gonna help a lot, and just piggyback on what everyone has said about data. If we take it down to one of the keys for marketing is you got to be able to create that content, right? And I think everything everyone's been talking about is how to create that content that's going to help the message from that vendor go through the partner to the ultimate buyer, and how do we use that data to data as well. But then I think it gets down to how can AI come in and actually help them create and blend messages. And you know, there's 2 things I'm seeing going on out there. One is people are reducing their costs by being able to use AI to create, edit, and localize, and then translate their content. And that sounds like a pretty simple process. And it probably is one of the easier things to do. But I'll go back to, I'll take what everybody else was saying, go back to how important it is to have that data. Because we're going to talk about the don'ts later on. And the don't is, don't confuse your partners and make it as simple as possible for them to create this blended message. And there's an opportunity out there to build it where they don't even have to understand prompts. We're going to talk about, I think, that later on in the don'ts about, you know, don't confuse the partners with the technology. So there's an opportunity to take all that data that Alex is talking about and everyone's talking about, and basically create a wizard behind an AI experience for a partner that's going to allow them to create and edit and localize content quickly and effectively. But all that data is so important to what that drop down or what that wizard looks like on the back end. Because truthfully, I don't even think partners want to use prompts, right? Or they want it as simply as possible. So when this all is being built out, the better the data is coming in, the better experience for the partner, and the quicker we're able to get them to take their message and the vendor's message. And that's the goal of marketing, isn't it? Is to be a storyteller and to take that message from the vendor, from the partner, as accurately as possible and point it to the right buyer. And it's so complex now, right? You've got 4 vendors and 4 partners and 1 buyer that actually has 10 other personas that you have to sell to. You know, you guys can correct my math. What's 4 times 4 times 10? Whatever. There's
160.
Yeah, there's 160 messages you had to create. Oh, and by the way, you need to do that in 12 languages. You know what? You know what's really happened? Nobody did it, because I watch this all the time. This is what's happening. You've got vendors who have X number of budget, X number of people, and they go, I really should be doing this by geo, by country, and these number of languages, but I haven't had the tools or the data to do it very well. AI is going to solve that problem. It is solving it now. You wanted to talk about real world expectations. The world is, and I'd love to hear what everyone else has to say on this too. The difference between a year ago and where we are today, a year ago, everything we're all talking about was, okay, this is kind of cool, LLM, this is great, we can try this. There are products in the field. We've had products in the field for a year and have learned, you know, how are vendors using this? How important is that data? How are they helping the partners be able to blend that message? So they're doing a couple things. They're saving a ton of money on localization and translation. They're actually able to create those 160 campaigns or pieces of content, and they're able to do it really, really fast. I think the interesting thing, and once again, I'd love to hear from anyone else, is how accurate is it, and what everybody's thoughts are, the difference between an LLM and a search engine, right? And Harbinder, didn't you say governance earlier? And how that plays such a key part of it as well.
Yeah. I think compliance is such a big aspect to all of this, right? I think we've been talking a lot about this data and how it can be leveraged to do this more effective marketing. But there's this underlying concern around the compliance aspect, right? We're dealing with sensitive information quite often. So as we're kind of rolling out these AI strategies, we need to make sure that that governance is in place. There, like we tend to use things like natural language processing to kind of identify GDPR or PII kind of personally identifiable information, make sure that's masked when we're running through these kind of models so that we're not really exposing things that shouldn't be exposed. So I think keeping that at the backdrop is always important, like as we're rolling these out, that we keep that governance, that compliance aspect in check.
Well, I would say every vendor that I've spoken to through this process, I know you all have spoken to as well, there's an AI compliance to every single organization, right? And there's an AI section in every MSA you all have for them. So while I agree that that's happening, here's what I think is fascinating. It's happening, and the approval is happening faster than I thought it would be. There are other issues I'm dealing with. I think organizations have developed very, very rapidly what they have for their internal AI compliance, and I think they're ready. I'm seeing that turn very, very fast. So the difference between a year ago when vendors were trying to figure out what is my AI compliance team, everyone that I'm working with has an AI compliance team, and they're figuring out how to get it through.
Agreed.
So Harbinder, if I could just bring you in for a second, specifically, I'm a vendor. I want to personalize as much as possible my messaging, my relationship with my partner. What are the sorts of things that are actually being done today? Is it all by text? Are we beginning to see the advent of agents? What's actually happening out there rather than what we're talking about for the future?
So there are many different use cases. So when I know we talk about AI in context of generative content, but I also think about text to speech. Keep that back of mind. So many different use cases. We think about text to speech conversion. So let's think about the first journey. When you think about partner journey with a brand, it really starts with the partner portal, or how they interact with the partner, with the brand. So hyper-personalizing that experience. How do you do that with AI? And one of the important aspects here is if brand is aware what the partner is trying to do outside, if they can bring that journey, that experience, what partner is trying to do, out of portal experience and the blend with the in-partner portal experience, that is the key. For example, if a partner is focusing on healthcare on their website on LinkedIn, they're pushing LinkedIn healthcare messaging. Now the partner is focusing on healthcare. So when the partner logs in, they should see healthcare campaigns front and center, aligning the content, the campaigns, and the tools to go with what they're trying to do outside. That is the key. So the outside experience with the inside experience. That is really the first step. The second part is, how do you take onboarding journey, hyper-personalize it who they are, again, going back to using the elements of text to speech. So now you can really create that personalized journey. That is the first step, how partners are interacting with you when they log in into your platform, okay? Now, obviously, that is the first step. Then there are many use cases after they get onboarded. Now you're looking at grabbing their profile, because the profile is the key. Who the partner is, what they're trying to do, what services they're offering, which vertical they're offering the services to. Now aligning everything in the portal based on their profile. So that is the first step in the part of the journey. The second is obviously now you have plethora of use cases, help, program help, chatbot, AI help to what the partner portal looks like. They have questions about the partner program. So that is the chatbot interaction. Then is the interaction on marketing. So there are like gazillion use cases about marketing, as Steve talked about. Many marketing use cases. The third relates to sales. Sales is the. So go ahead, Steve. I know you wanted to jump in, so go ahead.
No.
I can go on this topic for a very long
you and I
time.
can just go back and forth on, or we could all four go back and forth on it. Look, I think what's really interesting in what you're saying is I think it goes way beyond a chatbot. This is conversational AI, right? This is where what partner actually wants to go through a portal? Let's just walk backwards from there, right? I've been a partner. I don't want to walk through your portal. What I want to do, maybe not the first time. I know you got to go through the onboarding. You got to figure it out, and you got to learn. You got to figure out how many times that partner has been there. That's the personalization. But once I've been there, I want to come in, and maybe I've got my portal here, but I want my just not a chat, but I want to be say, I want to see what brands, how do I have to deal with the brand on my NBF guidelines? I don't want to go through your portal to figure that out. I don't want, not your portal, sorry, or any portal. I think partners are going to get it's going to be so conversational, and the partners that figure it out how to get in and get out and get what they need and go sell. Because by the way, the goal of the partner is not to spend time in any of our portals. The goal of the partner is to go connect with the buyer and to sell, right? And the faster and the most efficiently we can help them do that, the better they're going to be. So Harbor, I think it's going to turn into truly a conversational interaction with anybody.
And the other part is, Steve, I would like to hear, what Alex and Rahul are trying to do here, is bringing the technology to the partner. Okay, where they're operating. Just a simple example, as we talked about channel focus, was email-based deal registration, or Slack-based deal registration, or access to content. So I can just send an email, just say deal reg, or give me content at brand.com, and say, this is what I'm looking for. It goes, finds it, discovers it, analyzes it, and gives you back in an email. You're done. 100%.
Didn't I just say that?
That's right. I just said, so that's really bringing the stuff to the partner. That's really where the things are heading in email or Slack or text messaging. These are different vehicles that how you can interact with the portal or with the platform, whatever the engine that you have in the back end. So
yeah, man, exactly. And what's behind the scenes is that the AI is crunching all the activities that the partner has done in the past and being able to make really smart recommendations that say, these are the things that worked for you, for your industry. Like you said, you're in healthcare, you're targeting a certain industry. It can give you guided recommendations on, hey, these are the types of marketing activities, campaigns, funded activities that have worked for you, and you have high likelihood of repeating that success. So that's all very conversational and coming through. If I could just bring in one example, we're talking about the partner, but even from a brand perspective, I think the chatbots, the way we're seeing active use cases forming is, brands just asking conversationally, hey, tell me more about partner X, right? And the system is responding and telling you, hey, not only about the performance, but possibly that, this partner is now on a restricted party, don't work with them or there's some hold on their partner status because of certain issues, or they're working with an end customer that might be restricted as well. So giving you that kind of insights rather than having to siphon through all that data is going to be really crucial in making quick decisions about your relationships with partners.
Alex, if I can bring you in, we saw at Channel Focus last week some extraordinary things NVIDIA were doing with agents. How far away do you think your clients are from bringing in and utilizing that kind of technology?
It's things that we're testing with, right? And I think it all goes to where are we piloting things, where are we testing things, where do we get that comfort level? And so I think what we're looking at too with them is within that onboarding process with these partners, within smaller ways. And I think it's, trying to get them comfortable with it. I think, as we get into adoption of all of these things, I think it's a stair step to it. I know that Harbinder and Stephen, you probably have a little bit more when it comes to those. But I mean, for our clients, it's a lot about how they say, I need engagement, right? Their thing is it's too competitive. I'm dealing with all this competition. I need these partners to focus on me. And that's something that's big. And so what we're focused on is what you guys were talking about is we can't get them to come into the portal. Maybe they don't want SSO, whatever it is to get there. But we need to make sure that in these other communications that our clients' branding is coming to life, that they're messaging, that the partner is associating that communication with that particular one. So they know as we get farther and farther away from those portals, how are we still keeping that message and getting right in front of them? But yeah, as far as those other outlets, those are all things we're continuing to test and explore more with those clients.
Well, look, the reason.
And how are you utilizing? Hang on, Stephen. Let me go back to Alex for a second. Alex, how are you utilizing AI to help that engagement with those partners? What role is it playing? How's it helping to achieve that?
One, with sales enablement, a very specific one is microlearning. So when a new product comes out or a new element comes out, instead of having them come all the way to the portal to do something, we're sending them little microlearnings via email. So we'll know, what region they're in, geography, or maybe the products they can sell with the tools that we have and the data that we received, and we'll send them very personalized little microlearnings. And we can trigger that to go off at any, given time when new products come in, or just reminders. And I think that goes to some churn modeling, right? It's not just about generative AI, it's about everything else we know that can be valuable. And so if someone's about, their sales cycle is low, they haven't done anything in a while, let's trigger something. And these are those tools and those models that we work with clients.
Excellent. And Stephen, you wanted to come in.
Yeah, and by the way, Alex just went there. Look, we all know this, right? We should all know this. There's two reasons why partners want to go to a portal. It's either too complex or it doesn't offer value. And I think AI helps in both cases. And I think we've done a pretty good job. I think everybody's done a pretty good job simplifying the portals and making it easier, especially with the personalization. And that goes back to the data and segmentation. And so you can make it really easy. You're gonna have the easiest portal to function in the world. And I'm going to go once, but if I don't have any value, I'm never going back. I think that's the point. I think that's where Alex is going on this. Wherever you're meeting them, Harbinder, whether it's at Porter or Slack, where it is, you need to give value. I live this in the marketing world, right? In the TCMA. Managed partners or big partners never use the TCMA because they have their own marketing automation platform, so they never want to go onto a TCMA. But now with AI, when you can come in and you can blend your message with other partners, with other vendors to those personas, it's just adding a whole new mix to the value. So I'd love to hear what everyone else is doing. We're focusing on, hey, we've all made it really simple. How do we add value for those partners, which helps the vendors and helps the partners, makes the partners stickier to the vendor. And most importantly, the whole goal is to make them more successful with their marketing, right?
No, Rahul, if I can bring you in for a second. We're all talking about what we're doing with the partners. The partners are doing a lot of marketing themselves. Have you got any clients that are actually helping partners leverage AI in their own marketing programs? And if you have, what exactly are they doing?
Yeah, no, thanks, Rod. I would like to bring up a use case where, and I think Harbinder, you're also kind of in this direction, you're going in this direction, but we're kind of building out this ecosystem mapping capability that will basically bring together again all the work that the partner is already doing that we have access to, right? Who are they selling to? What are the opportunities these partners are tracking, their deals, their existing customers, leads that they might be having? And when the brand is able to bring that together with their own internal opportunities that they have in their systems, in their CRMs, they're able to do some kind of mapping and basically say that, hey, listen, these are the types of strategic accounts that I want you to continue focusing, and giving that back to the partner with that empowered view that, hey, these are the strategic ones. I'll give you additional funding to support this motion if you can focus on these subset of customers versus your typical ones. And partners are finding that really helpful because that gives them direction. And AI is basically, again, what's underneath all of that is being able to map all of that and give them that very detailed package. And that can go into a marketing plan that says, hey, I'm going to hit these accounts with these types of tactics, and these are the expected outcomes. And that really helps with the downstream ROI tracking. So in some way, we're able to map all the way from an opportunity stage, all the way from a lead, all the way through an opportunity to a deal closure, and track the entire life cycle so we can have that entire ROI map built out.
Well, and then we can make it better too. I think once you track it where it is, how do we make it better? How do we improve that close ratio? How do we shorten time to revenue? I think that's where AI can help us on top of all that as well.
Yep.
And Harbinder, I mean, AI, people are using it. It's becoming very effective. But the one thing it isn't, it's not cheap. And I hear two views from people, and I'd be interested in your view on this. One says that AI, because of the way it's used, because of the technologies you need behind it, is going to shift even more the emphasis for marketing onto the vendor. The other view is that the vendors are going to be able to take their AI technology and actually enable their partners to be more effective marketers, increase partner source revenue, and I'm sure it's somewhere in between. But what's your view on that?
So obviously the pricing on the, if you look at some of the LLM models, the pricing is coming down, so that's number one. That's something we're seeing even with OpenAI, with the pricing what used to be. But the key is, in my opinion, how do you use AI? When you think about AI, obviously within Mind Matrix, we're trying to optimize costs for our customers. We're not 100% jumping right to LLM. We're looking at first, can this problem be solved with ML, machine learning, okay? So because machine learning, there's no extra cost for customers. So you have to look at the problem and the use case and figure out what AI technology they need to solve their problem. Not just throw everything at LLM. So the key is figuring that out and using the optimal technology to make that happen. The second important aspect here is when you do the build, I talked about the data model and the RAG model around it, you're doing the semantic search and the looking at the data outside and narrowing down the data set that you really need to getting your work done. That drastically decreases the cost of your LLM, the money you're spending. For example, I can send 3-page document or 20-page document to LLM and say, find something for me, do something for me. It's going to cost you a lot of tokens, and obviously it's a big document. Or you send 3 pieces of data sets out of that 20-page document, which you feel is most relevant, and that somebody has access to that data set. It'll be a lot cheaper. So it is the combination, how you architect your platform. You can really optimize your pricing or cost for your clients. So it really comes down to engineering of the platform. That's how, coming from, how we have tried to do this for our clients.
So I agree with Harbinder, but I think by the way, we've been doing machine learning for years on who the partner is, where they're, it's what do you do with it, I think is there. I would even say, it depends on where you're using an LLM, you can dramatically reduce costs. It's not more expensive. Think about how much it costs to take 200 campaigns, because this is the world I live in, right? To take 200 campaigns and to localize and translate them. Okay, one, it's going to cost you $100,000. Two, it's going to take you 8 weeks to do it, right? I think Harvard's right. You marry that LLM of who that partner is and all that information about, I'm sorry, the machine learning, and then you take the LLM and you create content in a day. Now, I'm not saying human beings don't have to go back over it. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, at some point, right? About what not to do, like just use an LLM and just send it out, right? But I would say that it's being proven right now that if you use it correctly, like Harper's talking about, and what I'm talking about, you're gonna save a ton of money, and you're gonna do things a lot faster. You just have to
got a great question that's just come in from Renee. I'm also curious about your recommendations on what staffing role changes we should anticipate in marketing in order to deal with massive IT ecosystem focus, data and security management. How's that going to change marketing roles? Alex, I wonder if you'd like to jump in with a few thoughts on that one.
Well, I think we talked about this, maybe this was before we started it, is there's just gonna have to be more knowledge around it, right? And this probably goes to some of the don'ts, Stephen, that you mentioned too, is you can't just, the roles are gonna change a bit because I think we need to be more comfortable with it, right? You need people that are educating and learning all the different ways of how we're gonna be using AI within marketing, right? There's our marketing group at Merits, right? This is what they do every day, is it's not just creating the content, it's how can I use the AI tools to be more efficient and effective? And what those roles, it's kind of almost another element to their description. Their job description is some of that knowledge. But I'd be curious what the others are kind of dealing with as they grow their teams and as this is a real consideration that we go through right now.
Rahul, I wonder if you want to come in on this one. For, you know, if I'm one of the marketing folks on the call, I'm looking at all this happening. What are the kind of skills that I should be looking at acquiring, and where do I go and get those skills?
Yeah, I think for me, compliance, again, going back to that compliance point, I think there has to be a focused lens on marketing teams having an increased focus on compliance, on just understanding how this data is coming in, what is the governance around it, and there's a lot of great training online on AI in general, but I think finding compliance and just making sure that to earlier points as well, that AI isn't just deployed for AI's sake. There has to be a thought in terms of what is the outcome you're looking for, and more of a goal-based approach to AI. And that's how I would approach structuring the team.
Yeah, look, that's what I'm seeing too. The people who are being really successful with this and they're able to get it through their AI compliance team, which I was saying really has gotten a lot better. What Rahul, you're talking about, they have a very clear project with an outcome based, and they're getting approvals. Now, I will say this, some of them are getting pilot approvals. Maybe not, it's not a full-time thing. I'm seeing people, okay, let's try this for a year. Let's see how this works. Let's try the different set of partners. So they are putting, what I am seeing is they are putting some parameters around this to make sure everyone's protected on this. But I think really it's at a point with several customers we're working with, that they're looking at the ROI and the partner experience, right? They're looking at the partner adoption to it already. They've moved past that and they've gone through that stage. And now they're looking for the numbers that are going to back it up and where it's going to go, right?
But does it mean we're going to need more technically based people in our marketing teams? What's the marketing team actually going to look like to really take advantage of this?
So isn't that our job to do? Go ahead, Harvard, now.
No. So let me just quickly then see if you can jump in. So I obviously, when you think about using AI, so somebody, a marketing person who knows what data is going into the system, so they're well versed what brand information is going in, or what structured data is going into this, so how the LLM is going to work. So that is number one. Second, it starts with putting the end user, if the end user of the tool information is a partner or their customer, is a question is what kind of questions and prompts they will be asking the system, and going back and doing the effective prompt writing. So for example, you're creating a value proposition. So what the value, people will be asking for talking points, value proposition, or five quick questions to ask before the meeting. They they really need to put themselves in the shoes of the seller who's be utilizing this technology, and then work backwards and think about what effective prompts and sub prompts you need to support it.
Yeah, you're spot on. And by the way, the AI is going to give you that. I'm sorry, we're past all that, right? Look, our job is to make it easier, not harder for channel marketers. This isn't supposed to be hard to adopt. The whole idea of doing this all is so you can be more strategic and you actually think about it. Look, I think we're going to talk about the don't overwhelm people with technology. Our job as technology vendors is to make it simple so that they can work with consultants and other people to really personalize it and make it so that it works for them. And they shouldn't have to be prompt masters. The idea is we should be building AI tools that are reflective of what they need to do and is actually coming back with suggestions. I totally agree, Harvinder. Nobody wants to be a prompt master. The idea is how do we make it simple? And I think we're moving really fast towards that.
So I would say, we've deployed so many AI projects right now, from very complex to simple ones. And I would say we have put a layer of quality on top of it. I have not launched a single project without a layer of QC on top of it. So having a tool that monitors the outcome that comes out of the system and verifies it on an ongoing basis is the key.
Well, okay. Verify for what? That's curious. We could have a long conversation about what's good and what's accurate, and then what's.
So there are two parts to this. One is, and we separate it into two parts. What data is actually going into the LLM first? First part. If the wrong data is going, I'm just a simple example. If a partner in EMEA is looking for access to backup solution, and they don't have access to backup solution, or they have access to backup from Veeam, not from somebody else's. Just a simple example. Now, when they're going to ask LLM, first they need to make sure the data that is actually going to the AI, it is a correct data set.
Yeah.
Okay. Have the governance and control what that is going in, or could be that is the first level check. The second level check is what is coming out of the LLM in the format that people can consume and what makes sense. So, if you send the right data set, and if you using for summarization, yes, you're going to get with minimal hallucination. So that's what the governance you need to put in, and because that builds confidence. The problem with the AI adoption is the trust.
Yeah.
And that is the part that we're not even discussing. And people think there is a bias, and so that is what needs to be addressed.
But here's the problem, right? Here's the problem. LLM is not a search engine, right? We've talked about this before. And then you have people who jump in, and maybe the LLM model that they're using, the RAG model, sorry, somebody had to say RAG in this webinar. Or else,
I did. Yes.
Somebody had to use the term. Yeah, they're not training it right, because you're absolutely right. Whether you're creating content or whatever you're trying to do, if it's not accurate what's going in, and you don't have it in a place where it's well trained, that's what you're going to get. But people underneath understand it's not a search engine, right? It's predictive analytics. It's trying to predict an LLM the next word and solve a problem. So training is everything.
So
the other part is people need to understand there's a lot of public data that has been trained on. So separation of a public data versus your private data. That is the key. That's the key.
That's the key.
Sorry, go ahead, Rahul.
So no, I'm just saying that based on what you guys were saying, I think there's an element of not replacing the human aspect to this whole thing, right? AI has its use, but if it's only AI, there's going to be a certain disconnect with your partners, right? There has to be aspects of the AI where it really makes sense, but it can't completely replace the human aspect, right? There has to be that partnership has to continue building, and for that you need the human interaction as well. And that goes back to your point on quality as well. There has to be that touch to ensure that it's being used in the right way and there's the right context setting as well.
Rod, does that mean
we're almost out of time.
Yeah,
We've spoken a lot about lots of really cool things we're doing with AI. We promised to talk to people about the do's and the don'ts of utilizing AI. We're all rushing towards this. And Alex, some key lessons learned. What are some of the don'ts that people should be considering as they begin to build or indeed enhance the AI strategies they've got in place at the moment?
I mean, it kind of feels like a little bit of a synopsis because we've been saying them a little bit throughout. So I'll be quick because I know that we all have some passion around some of this too. But I think, what Rahul said is don't just remove all the human element, right? That's a big piece of it. I think that affects quality, trust, and there's other things with that. The other big, don't for us that we're working with clients is we don't talk about AI in general. There's so many elements that go into it. And I think that also helps clients then be able to understand where little projects can come, where the tools can come. And the one in the beginning for me that we talk to clients about is just don't accept data as it comes. We've been talking about this the whole time. A don't is we need to understand the data. We're not just going to take it as it comes. Low quality data, it's going to provide low value.
Harbinder, some don'ts.
I agree with what Alex said and Rahul. So, trust how you build trust. Don't just 100% just, have 100% blind trust in the platform. So the important thing is don't just use AI for sake of using AI. Yeah. Really, that's what it boils down to. That we're talking about AI, let's put AI everywhere. Cooking, eating, everywhere AI. No, it really comes down to pick some use cases that really create value. Start with that statement. And use the technology what makes sense to do it. Okay, that's how I see it. And everything what Rahul and Alex just mentioned, we talked about, have the boundaries, the guardrails. Don't just use AI for sake of using AI. That's it.
Excellent. Stephen, thoughts?
Oh, look, I think I'll just echo what everyone else said. I think it's come through the whole thing is don't overwhelm partners with technology. They're not so enamored with the technology. They want to know, how's it going to help my business? And that's what Harvard is saying. Don't use AI for AI's sake, right? Use it for the right reasons. Look, partners will do anything if they know there's something in it for them, right? That's the simplest way to look at it. And our job as technologists is to make it really simple for those partners. That's what they should expect out of AI in anything that you're doing. It shouldn't be harder for them. It should be easier for them, right? And then the last piece on that is, and I think Raul said that there is the human element at the end. We're not at a point where AI is the absolute end all, but if you can get 95% there, that's great. There's still the human element at the end of it. That's a big part of it. However, I will say by 2026 into 25, I think QA from the AI side, Raul smiling, is going to be almost as good as the human side. That, like, I'm just talking purely on content, right? Is that content any good? I think we're going to see massive acceleration around that over the next couple of years.
Okay.
The question is, who takes the liability?
Who takes the what?
Liability. Let's say 2026,
Absolutely.
AI is acting as a pilot, not a co-pilot.
Yeah.
And something wrong comes out of it. Are you going to go after Microsoft and say your LLM actually spit a wrong answer?
Oh, look, I think we agree. The human element is huge. But didn't we say in the beginning, AI is not going to take your job. Someone who knows AI is going to take your job. I think that's how we started this whole thing.
All right. We're on the same page. Rahul, go ahead.
Is it me?
Excellent.
Sorry, Rod, was that me now?
No, go for it.
Yeah, okay. So, Alex, I really like what you said about AI not being, it doesn't have to be something you see necessarily, like it can be behind the surface and it doesn't have to be something you shove in front of people. So I feel like the one point is forcing AI on everyone is not recommended. I would say that you still have your traditional processes that were existing for those who don't want to or cannot adopt to AI, despite our best interests, right? The other thing I'd say is just don't rush, right? Again, we talked about data and that's so important. If you don't have that foundation layer, your AI strategy is going to fail. So don't rush into it. Let the data build up all that value before you then put the AI elements to work.
Excellent. Stephen, Rahul, Harbinder, Alex, thank you very, very much indeed. Some great insights, some great learnings coming from the webinar. I've certainly learned a lot and I'm sure everyone else has. So as you leave the webinar, you'll be asked to complete a survey. If you could please just spend 2 minutes completing that survey, we'd very, very much appreciate it. But once again, Stephen, Rahul, Harbinder, and Alex, thank you very much indeed for your help and support on the webinar. Great job, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks,